What's going on, guys? It's your boy the Cash Critic, and welcome back to another streaming and chill video where we'll be breaking down my suggestions for you, my top 5 picks from Netflix, HBO Max, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, and then also go over the Nielson charts with you guys as well. As always, guys, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe button down below, share it with a friend. We're just going to jump right into things. That way we don't waste any time at all. Now, also, I just wanted to give a little shout out to St. Patrick's Day. Happy Friday, folks. So I'm representing with a little bit of green over here, even though I'm not Irish. I figured I'd go ahead and share the love. But going off of the very first segment for my Netflix choices, we have Luther the Fallen Son, right? This is a movie that just released on March 10th, so about a week ago at this point, right? And it does actually star Idris Elba and then also Andy Serkis, which are the star leads in this movie itself. Now, pretty much what it entails is the detective breaks out of prison to hunt a serial killer that's pretty much terrorizing all of London. Right now, it is #1 on the Netflix charts as well. I mean, at least trending. So if you haven't watched it already, definitely tune in because it is suspenseful. It is that true crime kind of show as well. So definitely, movie. So definitely something that you would want to see. Now, for option number 2 that I have is Money Shot, the Pornhub story, which is like a docu-film, right? And this could be a little bit controversial for some, for me even putting it on the list, but this just was released on March 15th of 2023, right? So just a few days ago. Now, this is a documentary actually based on the rise of the Pornhub website itself and the allegations that the company itself went through as well, right? Like we've heard a lot about human trafficking, right? Minors. The good thing about this docu film itself specifically, it actually doesn't show any kind of nudity either. Maybe 1 or 2 scenes if I'm mistaken, but it is something that is true to the documentary itself. Nothing has to do with just straight up nudity, which is great. So if you're interested to see the story on this huge platform, right, they're as big as YouTube. Definitely worth your while to check it out itself. Now, for option number 3, I have Outlast. Now, this was actually released about last week as well on March 10th, and pretty much what goes on here is 16 survivalists that were picked randomly are actually grouped up together and are actually in the Alaskan wilderness in the United States and have to actually survive out there with literally almost nothing, and the grand prize is $1 million. Now, it's super intense. It's awesome. This is a super cool survivalist show, and it lasts a long time, right? So I was dialed in, tuned in. You kind of feel like you build a bond with these individuals itself. So definitely worth your while if you love those kind of shows. And then option number 4, I have Safe Season 1. Now, this was actually released back in the day, back in 2018, right? I'm saying back in the day, but realistically, right, it's already been 5 years. And this pretty much evolves around a surgeon's daughter, and she ends up going missing, and pretty much from there uncovers an immense amount of secrets within her friend groups and just other family members too. It's very fitting for Michael Hall as he is the lead role, right? So it's kind of the same vibes as Dexter itself, but just with a twist. Now this time he's actually the victim. So really, really good show if you definitely want to watch it. And now for my option number 5, I have Shadow and Bone Season 2, right? So this was actually just released yesterday. So on March 16th, this is a sci-fi fantasy type of show where pretty much an orphan has like a menacing power that can change the world entirely. And now ultimately that orphan's kind of like battling it off with the dark forces, right? A different kind of group, different entities. So it's fun, right? It's action packed, and it's a show that's very highly anticipated for a lot of people. So if you love it, like that kind of sci-fi fantasy kind of style, this is definitely it for you. And now for my hidden gem, which you can see on the screen already, is Riddick. Now, Riddick was released back in 2013, starring Vin Diesel himself. This does take place on like a sun-scorched kind of planet, and he's pretty much stuck battling kind of like alien predators, trying to figure out what to do from here. Now, the reason why I placed this as a hidden gem is because Vin Diesel has confirmed himself that the new Riddick movie is currently in development, so it wouldn't be a bad time to go ahead and watch this film to refresh that memory of what it's all about. So those are my top 5 picks and my hidden gem for Netflix. Alrighty, now on to segment number 2, which is my HBO Max top 5 picks. And we're kicking it off with Shazam, the one that came out, Shazam number 1, released in 2019. Now, this is a great family-friendly movie to watch again, especially with the sequel releasing today. So if you don't remember Shazam, or maybe you have never seen it before, it's on HBO Max, so definitely take a whirl at it because it's going to be worth your while if you're looking to see number 2, especially due to the recent reviews that it's actually much more better, especially since the budget was increased from the first to the second one as well. So starring obviously the lead role of Zachary Levi, he's hilarious. It's a comedy type of film. Obviously it's DC oriented, and Shazam itself, which is a character, a superhero, which we really don't hear much of. Now it does actually correspond with Black Adam. However, the powers, the film itself, the way they actually interpret their kind of situation, the family bond is much more different. It's not so much of a darker tone like Black Adam, so definitely worth your while to sit around and watch with your family too. Now, for option number 2, I have American Hustle, which is actually leaving March 31st, so definitely watch this movie if you can ahead of time. So this released back in 2013, but this cast is incredible, right? We have the likes of Christian Bale, we have Amy Adams, Bradley Cooper, Jeremy Renner, Jennifer Lawrence, and the list goes on from there. The movie pretty much revolves around a con man that just gets forced to work with an FBI agent that actually gets them into like mafia type of trouble. So as a reminder, it leaves March 31st, so definitely tune into a drama, suspenseful, thrilling, right? Action packed, so definitely worth your while. And then for option number 3 is Beetlejuice, that actually released back in 1988. That was actually starring Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, right? And also Gina Davis. Now, the reason why I bring up Beetlejuice is because it was officially confirmed that a second one is development and starring Michael Keaton yet again, but also Jenna Ortega, right? Jenna Ortega's everywhere at this point, but it's a great film. Pretty much this original one about a deceased couple, and they notice that a new family actually moves into their home, and they pretty much hire someone to try to scare that new family that moved into their home out, right? And obviously we know that person being Beetlejuice, who they end up hiring. But it's a great story all around, so definitely worth your while if you want to check it out, or if you've never seen it, right? So it's a great rewatch to say the least. And now, ultimately, option number 4 is Superman and Lois Season 2. Now, this is actually a CW show. However, with Season 3 actually just releasing on March 14th, it's a great time to catch up on the past season, as many people actually have saying that it's a great show to actually watch. Of course, it revolves around the story of Northern Superman and Lois, right? However, they try to live like a regular lifestyle on planet Earth. However, their kids ultimately are impacted with these kind of superpowers as well. So they kind of have to deal with that at the same time. So season 3 will be coming out on HBO sometime down the line. However, no official set date just for that just yet. But season 2 is here. Season 1 is there. So definitely something that you would want to watch if you're into the DC genre. Now I have Barry season 2. Now, this was actually released back in 2022, and with season 3 actually coming out on April 16th, right? So about almost at this point, a month away. Definitely a time to catch up to the previous seasons and see what it's all about, but it pretty much revolves around a hitman that actually moves from the Midwest to LA and pretty much gets caught up in like that art industry, but a lot more entanglements from there. So it's action-packed. The writing is phenomenal. The script from top to bottom is phenomenal. The show itself has a ton of comedy as well. So something that is absolutely worth your while if you're looking for something new to watch, or if this is something that you probably never even heard of yourself. And now for my hidden gem, guys, I have Ex Machina. This is actually a movie that released back in 2014. It revolves around a programmer that actually gets selected to participate in a study by evaluating like a human-like type of android that has like humanoid AI built into it. So the story is actually intense. It's action-packed, suspenseful as well, and it's very chaotic. So definitely something that you would want to watch. It's that sci-fi type of feel, futuristic type of feel. So it's definitely worth your while, and I think it's a great story itself in general, right? Kind of gets you thinking about the possibilities of the future. So those are my top 5 picks for HBO Max, including my hidden gem. Now on to segment number 3. Now this is one that I am super excited, is Apple TV Plus, guys. So we have Extrapolations that actually just released today. So if you haven't heard of it, check out my trailer reaction in my actual channel, because that'll give you a lot more insight. But that just released today. It's a sci-fi futuristic type of show that actually revolves around our planet Earth and how it's changed significantly and how it impacts everyone's lives in different kind of perspectives. So it's an awesome type of looking show. I'm going to be binge watching it well, watching the first episode, right? Because it does come out weekly, unfortunately, but definitely something I'm going to be watching later today. It's highly anticipated, right? It's featuring a long list of great actors and actresses. And like I said, if you don't know anything about it and want more insight on it, definitely watch out and check out my trailer reaction. So for option number 2 as well, I have the After Party Season 1. Now, this was released back in 2022, guys. So Season 2 is actually coming up and releasing on April 28th. So plenty of time to catch up. And a bunch of people have a high school reunion. And ultimately, during that reunion, they have an after party that ends up happening a death and making everyone there at that after party potentially a suspect, right? So there's comedy, there's drama, it's thrilling, suspenseful, so it's definitely worth your while to watch that too. Now for option number 3, I have Invasion. Now this was released a couple years ago at this point, released back in 2021. It's a sci-fi show where the Earth ends up being visited by alien species. However, the story is told by other people's perspectives as well as to what exactly how they experience it and what they see from their point of view. So it's intense, of course, action-packed drama is there, and it's also a great show, even though there is no season 2. So there's only one season, which is totally fine for this type of genre. And now for option number 4, we have For All Mankind seasons 1 through 3. Now this was actually released back in 2019. Takes place in the 1960s, where the USA is actually in competition with the Soviet Union to be the first people to land on the moon and pretty much make like refugee there. So the show is actually one of my favorites till this very day for Apple TV Plus, and bringing you close to each individual character in that show, so it makes you have some kind of like personal connection towards them, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's the drama, there's comedy in there, it's action packed as well, so definitely worth your while if you love those type of shows too. And now for option number 5, I have Physical seasons 1 through 2. Now this was released back in 2021, so just a couple years ago as well. However, this is starring Rose Byrne, and ultimately this is a woman that's actually suffering from being a housewife, being tortured in that lifestyle, and just finds a path to be completely into power and having building like her own empire through aerobics, and quickly escalates from there. There's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of entanglements, so it's definitely a show that you definitely want to check out. And don't let the actual cover of the show fool you, because this is something that's going to be worth your while, trust me. There's drama, it's thrilling, suspenseful, there's action in there, so definitely something you want to check out. And then lastly, for my hidden gem, which you can already see on my screen for Apple TV Plus, is Causeway. So this is a movie that was actually released back in 2022, actually starring Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry. Now, it's pretty much a drama of a U.S. soldier struggling to adapt back home, you know, while fighting with like a traumatic kind of brain injury from the actual army itself. It's heartwarming. The story itself is phenomenal. The cast is phenomenal. So definitely a film that you want to watch, especially if it's something that you don't know exactly what to pick out, what kind of movie you want to watch, not so much into shows. This is going to be it for you. So those are my top 5 picks and my hidden gem for Apple TV Plus. Now on to segment number 4. We have Disney Plus, right? So the first one I want to bring up to your attention, of course, is Avatar. Obviously, if you haven't seen it already, which you probably most likely have, it was released back in 2009 and obviously directed by no other than himself, James Cameron, with now having 3 movies under his belt in the $2 billion range, right? We have Avatar, Avatar The Way of Water, which is the second one, and then additionally Titanic, right? So with Avatar 2 coming on video on demand on March 28th, not Disney Plus, coming on video on demand, so you will have to purchase it or rent it. It's a great rewatch in preparation of Avatar 2, so that way you know what's going on and have that refresher if you haven't already seen it in theaters. Now, for option number 2 on Disney Plus, I have Turning Red, which is another film by Pixar themselves, of course, and Disney. This was released in March of 2022. It's a great animated film revolving a 13-year-old girl that turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets angry, excited, sad, and much more, right? So there was a lot of controversy as this actually revolved around like puberty, and many families didn't actually think it was suitable for kids, surprisingly, which was very odd. However, the story itself, the animation itself from Pixar and Disney is phenomenal. The story is great, I think, personally, so definitely worth your while if this is something that you wanted to check out yourself. And now for option number 3, of course, yes, it's back on the list. I know I sound like a broken record, but The Mandalorian Season 3 episode 3 specifically, right? Episode 4 will be coming up next week, so keep that in mind as well. So I can't stress it enough. Pedro Pascal is blowing through the charts on all platforms right now, and obviously with the Mandalorian being all the craze and all the hype, and if you're loving the Star Wars kind of genre and the story, this is something that you have to tune into and you can't forget about. And now for option number 4, guys, I have a fun one. Free Guy. So this is actually a movie that was released back in 2021, starring Ryan Reynolds, Jodie Comer, and then also Taika Waititi. And this is a great movie, fun movie from top to bottom, action-packed, if you haven't heard of it or if you haven't seen it either. So it's a great video game type of movie where people from like the outside world become immersed into like this open world type of video game, but they end up meeting a character, Ryan Reynolds himself, that's supposed to be a non-playable character, so they should be doing the same thing over and over each day. However, you can see that this specific person in the video game, being Ryan Reynolds, doesn't follow the actual rules. So that's something that's a little bit odd, and then the story from there pretty much escalates, as you can see. But it's a great family movie. It's action-packed, guys. If you haven't seen it, or maybe you just haven't given it the time of day, I definitely suggest to do so. And for option number 5, which was just newly released as well just last week, is Miley Cyrus and Endless Summer Backyard Session. So this is actually pretty cool. Remind me a little bit of the Tiny Desk Piano from NPR, if you know a little bit about that in the music industry that are on YouTube. So this was released on March 10th. This is basically a series of songs from her latest album, Endless Summer Vacation, where she actually performs the songs pretty much in a backyard with a small band. There's no crowd, right? So you're really going to be able to see just Miley Cyrus with the microphone, with a small band, performing these songs pretty much in a backyard kind of setting without having that pressure from an audience, which is really, really neat. Okay, now on to my hidden gem, Mars. This was released back in 2016, guys. So this is a story of astronauts that travel from Earth to Mars in the year 2033 in attempt to colonize the planet, right? So if you're into space, if you're into sci-fi, this is definitely the show for you. So check that out as well if you're into it. Alrighty, guys, now on to segment number 5. I have the Nielsen charts for you guys, and for any of the returning viewers or new viewers, just as a reminder that this is actually exactly 1 month behind, just because that's how the Nielsen charts portrays its data by the minutes, and hopefully sometime soon, as they stated, we'll get more frequent updates, so that way it's more up to date and aligned with where we currently are in present time. So we're just going to jump right into it with the overall charts, ultimately for films and shows as they calculated by the amount of minutes that people watched it. So for number 1, we have Netflix You Season 4 Part 2, right? Of course, it's number 1 currently at this point with it releasing previously. And number 2, we have Netflix/Peacock, right? New Amsterdam. Number 3, we have Netflix as well, back again for Your Place or Mine. Number 4 stayed in the exact same spot for HBO Max, The Last of Us, which is a little bit surprising, but hopefully we'll see that turn right around to maybe number 2 or number 1 when the actual coming weeks come because of the finale of The Last of Us, right? So number 5, we have Netflix. NCIS, of course, came up a few spots at that point. From 10 to number 5, we have number 6 dropping down a couple spots for Netflix. CoComelon has dropped down. Number 7 for Netflix, The Woman King. It's been up there. It's been in the top 10 for quite some time, so it's very nice to see it's holding its ground pretty much. At number 8, we have Disney Plus for Bluey. And then at number 9, we have Netflix, The Walking Dead. And then number 10, Netflix, Grey's Anatomy, which has been steadily in the top 10 for quite some time now, ever since Ellen Pompey's departure, right? Meredith Grey, and the show itself. So there you have it, folks. Streaming and show with the Cash Critics. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys can tune into more videos right now. Peace.